All right, so have you ever wondered how major social movements can topple dictatorships or win huge civil rights victories, all without firing a single shot? Today, we're cracking open the toolbox of Gene Sharp, a political scientist who literally wrote the book on how it's done. And let me tell you, this isn't about wishful thinking or just hoping for the best. This is all about strategy.
So let's start with a really fundamental question. When you're up against a system that feels totally unfair, what can you actually do? It often feels like you've only got two choices, right? You either fight back with violence or you just put up with it. But is that really it? Are those the only options on the table? Well, that's exactly the question that drove Gene Sharp. He dedicated his life to documenting a powerful third way. And it's not about being passive at all, no. This is a super dynamic, really strategic way to wage conflict, just without the violence. It's basically the science of the fight. So just how big is this playbook? Are we talking a dozen tactics, maybe 50? Nope. Sharp identified a staggering 198 different methods. Yeah, 198. And we're not just talking about holding signs and chanting. This is a massive arsenal of what he called nonviolent weapons. Okay, I know what you're thinking. 198 methods sounds kinda overwhelming. And it would be. But here's the brilliant part. Sharp didn't just give us a giant list. He gave us a system. He organized all of these methods into three main categories, which gives us a clear way to understand how it all fits together. And here they are, the three pillars of the whole framework. First, you've got protest and persuasion. Second is non-cooperation, which is really the powerhouse of the whole system. And third, the most direct approach of all, nonviolent intervention. All right, let's dig into each one. Okay, first up, protest and persuasion. You can probably guess what this one's all about. It's about sending a message and making absolutely sure that message is heard loud and clear. So the whole goal here is symbolic. These are the things you do to communicate your point of view, to show everyone you're against something, and hopefully to win people over to your side. You know, it's that absolutely crucial first step of just saying, hey, we don't agree with this. And this is where things get really creative. I mean, sure, we've all seen public speeches and slogans, but Sharp's list includes things like mock funerals to show political grief, or teach-ins to educate people right on the spot. It's all about turning culture itself into a powerful tool for protest. Now for the second category, and honestly, this is the big one, non-cooperation. This is a major, major escalation. We're moving beyond just sending a message. Now we're talking about actively pulling our support from the system itself. The logic here is so simple, but it is incredibly profound. Think about it. Any power structure, I don't care how intimidating it seems, needs people to cooperate with it to function. So, by strategically refusing to cooperate, you're not just protesting anymore. You're literally kicking out the pillars that hold the whole thing up. And non-cooperation isn't just one single thing. Sharp broke it down into three key arenas of life where people can just refuse to go along: the social, the economic, and the political. So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, social non-cooperation could be a student strike that shuts down schools. In the economic realm, it could be anything from a targeted consumer boycott all the way up to a massive general strike that just grinds the economy to a halt. And politically, we're talking boycotting elections or acts of civil disobedience against laws you believe are unjust. And that brings us to our third and final category, nonviolent intervention. Okay, so if non-cooperation is like saying, I'm not playing your game anymore, then intervention is about getting on the field and actively changing the game yourself. Yeah, so instead of just withdrawing, here you are actively and physically inserting yourselves into a situation. The goal is to totally disrupt the normal flow of things, or even to build new and better systems to take the place of the old ones. The examples here are just wow. It starts with things we all know, like the classic sit-in. But it can scale way, way up to creating your own alternative schools or media outlets. And at its most ambitious, get this. It can even mean creating a parallel government that starts to perform the real functions of a state, directly challenging the legitimacy of the old one. So we have this incredible toolbox with 198 different tools inside. But here's the crucial point, and you can't miss this. Tools alone don't build anything. You can have the best hammer and saw in the world, but without a blueprint, you're not going to build a house. You're just going to make a mess. And that's the final piece of this puzzle. It's the one idea that ties all of Gene Sharp's work together: the absolute, non-negotiable need for strategy. As Sharp himself said, you have to figure out what kind of pressure you need to apply before you pick your tools. It's all about analyzing the situation, finding your opponent's weak spots, and then and only then do you pick the right methods from that list of 198 to get the job done. The big takeaway here is really clear. The real power isn't in any single tactic. It's in the intelligent combination and sequencing of tactics, all working together as part of a much bigger strategic plan. That's what turns a bunch of separate protests into a real, successful movement for change. So we're left with this. We've got the toolbox, and it is absolutely massive. But the real work, the true genius, isn't in memorizing a list of 198 tools. It's in knowing exactly which tool to use and when to use it. How do you choose between a consumer boycott and a sit-in? How do you string your actions together to build pressure over time? Answering those questions, well, that's where the art of strategy really begins.